So we're just going to be taking some softwood cuttings today. In order to do that, we'll just get the knife sharpened up, and with these knives you can see that the angle, if you look closely, it's about sort of 20 degrees angle that you want to be sharpening. So put a little bit of oil on the sharpening stone and just run that through, and just keep doing that to get it nice and sharp, ready for taking cuttings. If you don't want to use a knife, obviously we can use the secateurs, so there's lots of different ways if you don't like using a knife. Once you've done that, we'll just give that a little bit of a clean up. You can have a leather strop just to clean away any burrs on the edges, and once you've done that one side, we can turn it over and you can finish it off on the other. This is a finer sort of carborundum or grinder on the other side, so that's just used for finishing it off once you've got it sharp on the more coarse side. So we're sharpened up, and sometimes we use a little bit of WD-40, but that's usually afterwards to clean it. And obviously you can use a little bit of a disinfectant or a little bit of meths or a bit of alcohol kind of spray just to clean off any spores that might be there or anything that you could cross-contaminate. Okay, so let's go and have a look at taking some cuttings. So really it's a question of looking around your garden and seeing if there's any plants that have got some new extension growth. We're looking for something about 3 to 5 inches long, nice extension growth. However, as you can see on this particular plant, this Nepeta, it's about to flower, so it's not such a good one for taking a cutting because the plant is putting all its energy into flowering and you want it to root. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to really focus on these big shoots coming up. We're going to look for sort of what we call basal cuttings. So basal cuttings are ones that are coming from a little bit lower down the stem. I mean, they will still flower, but we're going to be more successful with that type of cutting. Make sure that it's free from pests and diseases, and ideally you want the leaves to have fully expanded so that when you propagate it and it's in the propagator, the leaves aren't carrying on to expand. You want the leaves to root. So what we want to do is to make sure that when we take the cutting that we leave the plant in good condition. So I'm going to cut above a node, okay, and just literally clip it together, pop it in the bag. You can see that that is good, you know, we're probably pushing on for 200 to 250. So the plant has been cut above a node to leave it in good condition, and then what we're going to do, we're going to actually cut it below a node when we take the final cutting. So that's gone in the bag. Very important with softwood cuttings that we maintain the moisture within the cells, the turgidity as we call it, so they're nice and turgid, so they're not going to, because they're so susceptible to drying out really quickly. So let's just take a few of those. So I'll take a few basal cuttings. So I could take them here with the knife, just looking around what there is. Okay, got one there. What's that one? What you have to look out for with Nepeta, they can get mildew, and so that can be a problem. I'm just going to take that one off there. We'll pop them in the bag and we'll keep them. We're going to go and have a look now. We've taken some off the Nepeta. We're going to go and have a look at some shrubs to see if there's any extension growth that we can take for our cuttings off the shrubs. What we've got here is Philadelphus coronarius aureus, the golden mock orange, and you can see that it's already putting on quite a lot of extension growth, and it's ideal for a softwood cutting. And if I just take some material off it, you can see here, if I cut it there, actually I'm going to get 2 cuttings out of that. Let's examine the cutting. So I'm just going to cut there for the minute. I'll put that down, and looking at this, if you feel it between your thumb and finger, it is very soft wood, and here's the right wood, it's coming about there. So you take your cutting about 3 to 5 inches off the plant, and then when we come to take the final cutting, we'll be cutting back to here, removing the bottom third of leaves, and we'll be putting that into the compost. So you want at least 3 fully expanded leaves. So some people with better propagation facilities would go a little bit smaller cutting, but that would make a good cutting. So I'm going to pop that in the bag to keep it turgid, and then we're going to have a look, see what else we can find. Look at 1 or 2 other plants that normally you can take some softwood cutting material from, and you can see on this Deutzia, it's actually just coming into flower. This is Deutzia Magician, and obviously there are shoots with flowers on, but there are 1 or 2 side shoots actually that we could take a cutting off. So I could actually take that off, and there is just enough softwood there to take a cutting. You could leave it another couple of weeks before you take the cuttings, but I'm going to actually take a few off that, just so we have got a little bit of cutting material. But there, to be honest, there's not a lot on it. There's just 1 or 2. You can see there's 1 there. It's not flowering. It's nice and fully expanded. So I'm just going to take a few off this, not too many, just a couple more there, some nice ones. Now, basal shoots are better. If you look at the quality of these basal shoots, they actually root quicker, and so that's good propagation material. There's no flower, leaves are fully expanded, so they'll make good cutting. So that's off the Deutzia, and so we've got Philadelphus, we've got Deutzia, we've got Nepeta. Let's go and have a look at the Cotinus, see if there's anything on there that we can take a cutting. So this is the Cotinus, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of extension growth. There's that nice softwood growth on this golden spirit type Cotinus. We've also got Cotinus cogigria, royal purple, and this Cotinus grace. So ideal for softwood cuttings. I'm a little bit early. You can see there isn't a lot of extension growth, just 1 or 2, but certainly that one would be a good candidate there. So I'm going to nip that one. Another nice one there. We'll nip that one off. And just struggling a little bit to find some nice extension growth. Just 1 there, just enough material, and we'll get 1 off the top there. But normally we'd look for something a little bit lower, a little bit basal. So I'm just going to take 4 cuttings off that, but that will be fine. We'll pop it in the bag to keep it turgid, and we'll see if there's anything else we can find. Just going to have a look at the Cotinus cogigria royal purple, and just having a look around, there's a little bit of extension growth. There's a nice piece there which would be good for a softwood. It would also make a semi-ripe cutting later, but we're going to try some softwoods with these. There's 1 or 2 growths on the end which we could use. That one's slightly longer, so we'll take that one, and there's 1 just back here. Again, we'll just take that. So could probably do with about another month's growth. So just having a look at this forsythia, and as you can see there is some extension growth, nice soft growth. So again, what we'll do is we'll just take the tips off the forsythia. So what I'm doing now, I'm just mixing up some compost, just putting a bit of perlite into this sort of peaty choir kind of mix. Just get some moisture in there just to make sure that it's not too dry, and get the perlite well mixed in. Now sometimes perlite can be dusty, so you may have to think about wearing a mask when you are mixing it in, but I find a 50-50 is a good mix for cuttings. Keep mixing it until you've got a nice even consistency. You can see the distribution there, that the perlite is distributed well into the compost. Then once you've done that, just grab some in the hand, pull it together. If you touch it and it breaks up, that's fine. And if it just falls together without doing that, it's too dry. And if when you touch it and it doesn't break up, it's probably too wet. So now I've got that, what I'm going to do is just get some pots. We've got all our cuttings, we've got some Deutzia, we've got some Philadelphus, we've got some forsythia, we've got some Nepeta, we've got some Cotinus, So we've got a good arrangement of softwood cuttings. There's really quite a lot out there if you have a look about. So what we're going to do is just pop a little bit of that compost into the container. I'm not going to really do much in the way of firming it because we want plenty of air in there to help rooting. Lots of oxygen around the roots helps respiration, and that's what helps the roots to form. And of course, ideally we'll need a little bit of bottom heat and keep the tops nice and covered so they don't lose moisture by transpiration. So here's my cutting, and it's not actually far off, ready to go. All I'm going to do with this one is just to cut below the node, and I can either use my knife or my secateurs, strip the bottom third of leaves, and then what I'm going to do is just make a hole in the compost and pop that in and just put it to the leaves. That'll be my cutting. And so again, if you're using the knife, of course, if you prefer a knife, that's fine. And what we'll do again, cut just below the leaf there, cut that off, strip the bottom third of leaves. Okay, in fact, I'll take that one off as well. And then I'll just close the knife, make a hole, and all I would do with something like this is do, say, maybe 5 round the outside, 1 in the middle, and we'll just trim the rest of these off. Obviously, if you've got like a little bit of a bin to put your cuttings in, that's a good idea. So you put all your material in, strip the bottom third of leaves, and then we'll do that. Okay, and we'll just pop those in. And that's all we're going to do with all the other cuttings, is exactly the same. We're just going to fill a pot up, about 5 round the outside. That one's strong enough, we'll push that straight in. It's a bigger cutting. I'm going to water it, and then we're going to put it in a covered propagator. So have a go at doing your cuttings. Remember to keep them nice and moist and water, and have a go whether it's Philadelphus or whether you're having a go at Forsythia or Julia or Nepeta or anything else with nice soft growth. Give it a go. So the key thing with softwood cuttings is to obviously keep them turgid. So I have watered them, but you just want to give them a little bit of a water to make sure that they're nice and soaked. I've watered once, so that's why I didn't give them a lot there. So they're just right now to go into the propagator. There's lots of ways of doing it. We can use a propagator like this, which has got, when we plug it in, some bottom heat, and if it gets up to about 20-21 degrees Celsius, these will root within about 4 to 5 weeks. But if we don't have any bottom heat, it's going to take quite a lot longer for them to root. An alternative, if you haven't got something where you can put a cover over them to stop transpiration, you can improvise. So these Forsythia are a little bit flaggy, but we can pop that over there with an old sort of, something like a little bit of an old lemonade top, and just put that like that, and that will keep the humidity in and stop them from wilting. Another alternative, of course, is you could just use a plastic bag. So we could actually just put 3 canes like that in there and just slip a plastic bag over the top of them. So we'll just feed that through, pop that plastic bag over the top, and then that will, if you want to, you can put an elastic band around the base, and that's another way of creating a little bit of a propagator. But it's vital for softwood cuttings that you maintain the humidity to stop them wilting. You can see how quickly this Philadelphus, it was only about 10 minutes ago these cuttings were taken, and already they're flagging. So they need to be kept in a nice sort of closed case where we keep the humidity up. Have a go, see how you get on, and hopefully you'll have some plants for free.